Let's talk about James Charles's apology video that just went live. I'm not going to edit this video. I'm going to keep it super raw and straightforward. I've already done a lot of really fun, sort of light-hearted videos about this on my channel, but this one kind of rubbed me the wrong way, and I have made a bullet point list so I can stay directional with my content on this one. But James Charles, an hour or two ago, posted a video called Holding Myself Accountable. Controversial title, because that didn't seem to happen whatsoever throughout this 14-minute, 16-second video. Basically, obviously he's been called out for messaging minors. There's one boy that claims to have been 15 at the time. And some of the content of this video is such a joke. It's such a joke. James Charles is saying in this video that he actually prefers to date people his age or older, right? If that's the case, why are all the boys that you're messaging that are posting screenshots of you sending them nudes, why are they all 16 and look like children? Right? Like, that makes no sense whatsoever. Like, if you're into your age or older and you're 21, you're dating 21 or older, you're not dating 16 where you think they're 18, right? It doesn't make any sense. Like, do you know what I mean? It's just silly. Anyway, I'm going to work through my list here to stay objective. I'm going to stay objective because I don't want to get into too much of a rant. But first one, in this video, he keeps saying, I'm embarrassed, right? So in the situation where everyone is saying, James, you're literally a predator, using your fame and power to, you know, send nudes to very, very young boys and asking for them back and asking for Snapchats of them in the shower and stuff like that, which wasn't mentioned in the video whatsoever. He said he was dating. He said he was looking for a relationship, right? Whereas all these boys are literally showing James nudes and stuff like that. Like, is that how you date? You just add someone on Snapchat and start sending them naked pictures? Like, is that what we call dating? Really? Anyway, the whole thing about him being embarrassed in this situation, almost painting himself out to be the victim, that was a consistent theme throughout the video, and I think that was a bit disappointing. That's one of the first things. The second thing is, I already mentioned the fact that he actually stated in this video that he is attracted or wants a relationship or whatever with someone his age or older. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Like, every single boy that's come forward with screenshots not only has been underage or a minor or very, very close to being a minor, but they've also looked very, very young, right? None of them have been, you know, older looking guys whatsoever. None of them look like over 18, right? Some of them literally look like children from high school, and James is 21. Like, if a 21-year-old man was sending naked pictures to a 15-year-old girl, that wouldn't be acceptable, right? So I think everyone is kind of in agreement that it's not acceptable that he's doing this to boys, regardless of, you know, them looking up to him because he's in a position of power, right? So anyway, another thing I already mentioned about the fact he keeps talking about dating. Like, oh, I'm looking for dating and I'm desperate. And bro, no one is accusing you of like dating too many boys or making too many moves on too many boys. People are coming after you because you've been adding complete strangers and sending them nudes and asking for nudes back. And they've been so young. Some of them are literally underage, right? And James is sort of blaming on them and saying, well, they lied about their age and we don't know if that's true so far. One of the boys claims not, and he says that the police are involved. No repercussions have happened against James, but one of the boys that came forward has his TikTok account banned. So that's quite interesting. Another one, he said that he wanted to address this. But that's funny because when the whole thing was happening, he posted a tweet that sort of denied really any liability with an apology. And then he did a sponsored video with Elf and Chipotle. I'm pretty sure it was sponsored, right? Do you remember? With this eyeshadow palette, as if nothing had happened, and all the comments that people were showing were being deleted from what people imagined were happening because they could click on them and then they weren't there. So it's kind of just like, bro, you were very happy to ignore it up until the point that this blew up and celebrities started unfollowing you. Kylie Jenner started unfollowing you. Big people on Twitter started calling you out for it and calling you a predator. Morphe got attacked on their Instagram when they restocked your palette. And suddenly brands are contacting you saying, James, you need to sort this because we can't just pretend it's not happening anymore, right? It's just so stupid. Okay, so James is basically almost playing the victim in this video, which I know he's going to say, that wasn't my intention, I wasn't trying to do that. But the whole video is the tone of him saying, like, I've been tricked, I've been fooled. You know, that whole original apology that he gave was like, fool me twice, shame on me. Bro, none of these boys look 18, right? Like, I struggle to understand this. Like, personally, I've never had an attraction to people that are really young, so maybe I don't get it, but these boys look like children. They don't look 18, right? They don't even have any sort of facial hair. They have baby faces. They look like they're 15, 16 in high school, right? Literally children, like not something that are 20, like there are teachers that are fully qualified that are 21 years old, right? Imagine a 21-year-old teacher getting sexually or romantically involved with a 15-year-old student, it would not be acceptable, right? Do you know what I mean? Because it's an abuse of power. Teenagers are hormonal and the brains are still constructing themselves, and people have a responsibility. Adults have a responsibility to not engage with minors, right? That's why we have laws against these things, right? So it's just so stupid. And James is sort of passing off the responsibility like, oh, well, I didn't think I was abusing my position of power because they messaged me first. Bro, you're an influencer with millions of followers and you post videos. Of course, people are going to message you. Of course, children are going to message you. Like, are you saying that, oh, well, I can do whatever I want because they messaged me first? What kind of stupid reaction is that? So, you know, the minimum age to join Instagram is 13. Are you saying any 13-year-old that messages you is okay for whatever happens next because they were the first ones to do it? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's so stupid. This is not the first time it's happened. Like, it's just so stupid. Like, he was accused of preying on that boy with the tatty situation because the boy wasn't sure about his sexuality and he was quite young. He wasn't a minor. But the whole situation was like preying on young boys that haven't made their mind up. And sort of putting them in a difficult situation. And the boy came forwards and said, you know, it was uncomfortable, but he was working things out and he's realised he's not going that way and stuff, whatever. But anyway, he also mentions a lot of self-reflection, but doesn't actually admit, like, you know, he talks a lot about dating, but doesn't actually talk about the fact he was sending nude photographs to multiple boys that were minors, right? So that's another thing to mention. There was all this self-reflection, but not really any of it actually substantiating to, like, what he actually did, like owning up to it, right? Then we have, obviously I already spoke about the boys. He's basically blaming the boys, saying that they lied to him about their age and said they were 18, which doesn't align with the boys' stories. They've said otherwise. One of them actually came forwards and said, well, James said, oh, like, I can't wait for you to be a bit older or something like that. So there's definitely two sides of a story happening here. So he also claims that he's desperate, and this is quite an interesting psychological tactic. It's a manipulation tactic. I read about this in a book a long time ago. If you ever want to try and get someone to believe a story that you're telling them, one of the tactics that people can use in these situations is they can lace it with something embarrassing, because psychologically in your subconscious, if someone tells you a story and they're willing to say something that embarrasses themselves, it almost validates the truth that they're telling you. So say, for example, someone says, I was late to school today and it's actually because they were smoking weed on the park. You might like go to the teacher and pretend to be really embarrassed and say, listen, I really didn't want to talk about this, but like I shut myself, right? That's the kind of thing. Do you get what I mean? So these kind of tactics, I've read up on them before because you have to be aware of people using them, especially on social media. And that was one that stuck out to me personally. I'm not suggesting that that was absolutely James's intention with that, but I definitely think the fact that he's been caught in a really serious scandal where young boys have been put in a very difficult position on social media, going up against an influencer with millions of subscribers, being called liars, right? And then James is like, well, you know, I'm sorry this has happened, but the truth is I'm just desperate. Like, bro, that's being desperate is not an excuse for, you know, fraternizing and flirting and sending nude photographs and asking for nude photographs from boys that look like children. Right? That's not a valid excuse. Next on my list, he says, oh, he trusts too quickly, again, as if he was the victim in the situation, right? Like he trusted these boys that he literally didn't know, that messaged him on a social media account when he has millions of followers. Oh, I trusted them. Why would you trust a complete stranger? This is James Charles, the notorious social climber. We're expected to believe now that he wears his heart on his sleeve and he's too trusting of boys, but he literally doesn't know that he exchanges 2 or 3 messages with and then eventually starts sending nudes and asking for them back with. We have all the screenshots in our previous videos of him asking for shower pictures from one guy, saying it would have been nice to have got some pictures of you in the shower. Another guy came forward with the same sort of thing, in addition to the nude photographs James sent of his bum and various other things. Right? It's so inappropriate. The next thing, which was really interesting with James's video, really interesting. This is true narcissistic behavior, and this reminds me of like very abusive relationships I've experienced when I was younger with older guys. He said, I missed the red flags, almost insinuating that like these 15-year-old, 16-year-old boys, they are the issue in this equation. Like, I missed the red flags. Bro, like, you are the red flag, right? You are the red flag. You are asking children for naked photographs and sending them naked. You are the red flag in the situation. Like, how are people going to turn this around and actually believe it? And it was disappointing for me because genuinely the video got a ton of likes. People were super, super supportive. And I just don't understand that. I don't understand how people can see this happening and just be like, oh, that's fine. Like, that's a fine apology, right? Like, as if he's the victim. So anyway, next thing, he said about dating older people, something that we have not ever seen, you know, with James Charles or any of the boys that he's ever messaged. So that makes me think that some sort of his PR recovery is going to be getting into a public relationship during his recovery period with someone older, noticeably older. So whenever someone mentions this situation with James Charles and the children, people will respond like, oh, no, he's with an adult now, so it's over, right? To sort of diffuse it. So that's just what I'm envisioning will happen. It's part of a sort of PR campaign that's being orchestrated, but that's just what I'm thinking. Sorry if this is a bit ranty, by the way, but it genuinely did aggravate me a bit because this is blown out for so long. Friends warned me I was going to get hurt. So James said in the video, yeah, like my friends warned me I was going to get hurt. I was too trusting, like as if he's the victim in the situation, even though he's like much older than these children. And I wanted to reference back to all the people that have come forward from James's high school saying that he catfished his entire soccer team, the guys, into sending nude photographs by making like a fake profile and pretending to be a girl and catfishing them. So if like friends were warning you that you were going to get hurt, like you're the one hurting people, you're the one misleading people intentionally to get what you want from people, whether it's naked photographs, etc. But now we're supposed to feel sorry for you, right? Like this is the footballer thing. It's not a new thing. A girl recently posted a TikTok and she said a lot of people know about this, but I've heard about this years ago as well, about when he was in high school, 15, 16 years old, catfishing the football team, the soccer team, and messaging them all privately and trying to get naked photographs from them, right? To get like an album and then bragging about it. Not seeing an issue with that, right? Next, we have he claims that this whole thing has happened due to his inexperience and bad luck. I kind of feel like bad luck is on the people that have been abused now, right? The people that have had James ask for naked photographs and have received naked photographs from James Charles, who is an adult, who is 21 years old. Surely they're the ones with the bad luck, and I don't really understand how James is saying he's the one like getting bad luck from the situation, right? So the next thing on my list, you can see I'm saying structured. I hope you can appreciate my structure in this situation. He claims to not understand that they were using him for his fame, or like that he was using his fame and position of power and wealth, because he said that they messaged him first. We already discussed this. Like, imagine Beyonce, right, messaging a minor, and then people like, Beyonce, why did you send a nude to a minor? She's like, well, they messaged me first. What? Like, it would be so stupid. Or what if a 21-year-old football player was caught, male football player was caught, messaging a 15-year-old girl in this exact situation, and the guy was like, well, she messaged me first. Like, it wouldn't stand, right? So the whole thing is just really stupid. He's saying, oh, the whole thing is that people treat him as James Charles and not James Dickinson, and he has now had this big epiphany, and he's realized that, even if he just sees himself as a normal person without makeup, like other people will still see him as James Charles. My whole thing about this is, number one, James is continuously showing quite narcissistic personality traits, and I really don't think he ever thinks of himself as just James Dickinson. I think he very much enjoys being James Charles and being the centre of attention and being the centre of all of these things, right? That's quite clear from what we've experienced so far of the past 5 years and everything he's done to get to where he's got to now today, right? Whether it was the ring light scandal, the whole thing with Thomas Halbert in the past, and even the more recent things as well. But yeah, so this whole thing, I just didn't think that. And also, like, he's saying, oh, well, I just see myself as James Dickinson. Bro, you're messaging them from your public Snapchat. Your name on Snapchat is James Charles. Like, this is not a private text message conversation. This is, a Snapchat where you're sending seedy photographs of you naked to these boys, and your name is James Charles, and it shows you're a creator on Snapchat. So people can see your status on the social media platforms that you're messaging these boys. They can see you've got millions of followers. So I don't understand this whole, like, well, I'm just James Dickinson when I message these people. I'm just making myself vulnerable and they're just abusing it. Like, I just don't get that personally. This isn't someone that you've met organically in the street. This is someone that's messaged you on your Instagram as a huge influencer, right? He said, I'm okay with more conversations about this because we need to talk about this more. Again, it just seems very much like, if that was the case, why didn't you talk about this earlier on your social media, like on your YouTube? All you did was did a half-assed apology, not really admitting to what's happened. And then you did a Chipotle sponsored video from what it seems like, and it seems like he's only talking about it because it's blown up so much now and mainstream media's caught onto it. So that seems a little bit disingenuous, to be honest with you. Next, we have, I don't want to forget about it. And I just felt like that's what he said. And I just felt like, well, why have you ignored it for so long? Why haven't you addressed it? Why have you messaged these boys and said, don't you better get your friend in line or I will, right? You've been threatening 16-year-old boys on Snapchat, right? Telling them to keep their mouth shut. But then you're out here saying, I don't want to forget about it. Like, what? You're literally an adult threatening children in private, and then you're playing the victim. It's so stupid. He said, I now fully understand the situation. And I felt like, how was it not obvious to you before? Because you were orchestrating the situation. You are the adult in a situation, adding these children on Snapchat because they already have you added as a creator. You're adding them on Snapchat, right? You're messaging them. You're sending them naked photographs. What didn't you understand about this process? Like, what did you not quite comprehend about what you were doing? Because you were orchestrating the whole thing, right? You weren't being groomed from the get go. These are children messaging you. Like, it's just stupid. Anyway, next one. He said, I will be more careful with every single person I speak to. As if he's the victim in the situation. There are messages posted of him threatening these children, these 16-year-old boys. And he's like, oh, you better get your friend in line or I will. You better keep your mouth shut. We're going to have a major problem. Really? You will be more careful? Like, even these boys needs to be more careful. You've literally been threatening them. They're children. Like, it's so stupid. Like, anyway, the last thing I've got written here is end. The end sounds very scripted and a bit insincere to me. For me, I think grooming children is one time doing it is one time too many. It is for the rest of the world and in most legal systems in developed countries. So I don't understand why James would suddenly get a second chance with this now, or a third chance, whatever you would call it. I think the whole thing is ridiculous. And the thing that disappoints me the most is the fact that I actually imagined that James is going to get away with this. And this behavior just reminds me of every single predator that I've ever spoken to that's ever expressed this kind of behavior. Especially for me as a young teenager, when people try and message you and talk to you and they try and pretend to be a friend and they obviously want one thing from you. It just reminds me of that exact situation and the fact that he's so comfortable sitting on camera and talking about it like this and just really performing from my perspective, right? Like, I feel like I've debunked so much of this, like 25 million subscribers, but apparently didn't see anything wrong with messaging boys that look like children and is now the victim because they lied about their age. Like, what? Did they really lie about their age? Again, that's an accusation. That's not been proven so far. There's not any evidence of that. The boys say it's not true. James hasn't provided any screenshots of that, and the boys have provided screenshots of the conversations, and none of those screenshots show that the boys have lied about their age. So that's another thing that's very interesting. But anyway, bit of an unscripted video. I just wanted to share with you my thoughts. I feel like I'm like holding a prototype on camera, sorry. I just wanted to share my thoughts with you on the situation because it upsets me a bit because I just feel like the truth just doesn't matter anymore. It's really just a case of how well you can manipulate people. It's not about the damage you do to people. It's not about the fact you've literally been grooming children, but instead it's all about how well you can do a PR apology video on YouTube. I think celebrities are probably not going to back down on this. I think people like Trisha have been very vocal on Twitter about this, and I think I stand by those sorts of opinions on this. I try to stay impartial with my videos, but when it comes to the safety of children, in any situation, I am very, very aggressively in the conversation, if that makes sense. And I'm sorry, but it just comes from my perspective of just being protective of people in those situations. I've been in positions in my younger life where I've not had people there to defend me and protect me. Zero protection and also zero education and zero understanding of situations that I've been placed in. And so to see someone doing it so publicly, I can't explain it. It just makes my blood boil. It just pisses me off so much. But anyway, it's really funny because the fourth video on recommended on this on YouTube on this video is I adopted a child for a day with 24 million views. Like, I don't know. I just think this is so messed up. Like, so messed up. And I'm just over it. I'm really over it. I'm over the YouTube beauty community drama, just these same people just getting away with the same stuff over and over again. Like, if it was the real world, these people would just be in jail. You know, they're literally running scams or abusing children, but somehow on YouTube, like, people are just so easily manipulated and it's all okay. Like, oh, I don't know. Even the comments, I just feel like they're being moderated, and I don't know. I'm going to stop now. But anyway, let me know what you think down below. I'm sorry if this is a bit more of an emotional video than usual, but it just aggravated me a little bit to think that someone could get away with this. after these boys have been so brave coming forwards and sharing their experiences. It's just horrible. But anyway, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.